tested on how to set up a constraint when a character is like kneeling down or squatting down and they've got their hands on their legs here, and we need those hands to follow the legs right there. How do we set that up? How do we make sure that this character can keep their hands there without them sliding around or whatnot? This would also apply if they're placing their hand on another character and kind of putting their hand on their shoulder or something. How do we make sure that it stays where it needs to be? And that's exactly right. We would either use a rivet constraint or a point on poly constraint, depending on your version of Maya. So let's just do one hand with each, just to kind of show this. So in this case, I want the hand to follow the leg. That's pretty simple there. So let's do the point on poly first. To do the point on poly, what I'm going to do is first I'm going to take both hands here, key them at the beginning, and then I'm just going to move them up here so I can easily just bring them back down afterwards, get them in place. So I need to make sure I can select the body, like so. And now for the point on poly, I'm not going to just constrain the hand right onto the leg. Again, no straight constraints. We need to make them a little bit more detailed than that. So I'm going to go to create locator, create a locator right here. And I'm going to constrain that onto the leg. So where is it going to be? Find a point that's close to where I want it. Probably right there. That's a pretty good point. So right there, I'm going to constrain my locator to that point. Select the vertice, shift select the locator, constraint, point on poly. I'm going to make sure maintain offset is turned off so it snaps to that point right there. Good. Now that is connected to her leg. From there, I'm not just going to constrain the hand right to that. Once again, we need that constraint set up. So we're just going to create a couple more locators. And we're going to use that universal setup that we'd done before. So this one, because it's following the leg, this is essentially our hierarchy locator. It's not going to move. It's just there to follow this point. That's it. Just like how the other one was there to follow the wrist. That was it. So now we're going to have our anim locator. And I should locator. And then we're going to have our offset locator, because I need to be able to animate these hands while they're still on there. So the anim locator goes to where I want the pivot point to be. Where do I want the pivot point of the hand to be? And then I have to consider, I'm going to be animating this locator so I can get some movement in there. I want it to move along the direction of the hand and not at some weird angle to the hand, or else I'm going to get some weird rotations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the locator, then the hand right here, modify, match transformations. I'm going to match everything except for the scale. Boop, right there. Now that locator is lined up with the hand, I can now move this, and I feel like I'll probably want this like somewhere around here. Let's take that hierarchy locator and just make it a lot smaller. It really doesn't have to be big at all. So we can do that, place that right around there-ish. And then I'm going to take my offset locator, once again match that to the wrist. So modify, match transformations, boop, right there. And I'll just keep it there, right along with the wrist there. So now we just need to set up all of our connections. The wrist is going to get constrained to the offset locator. So select the offset, then the IK control, constrain parent. Then we make our hierarchy. So the offset gets parented to the anim locator, hit P. Anim locator gets parented to the hierarchy locator, hit P. Like that. Same constraint we just did before. It's that universal constraint. And now you'll notice that the hand stays there even though it's animated, because we constrained it, it's now stuck there. And if we move the knee right here, the hand follows along. Done. If I need to rotate the hand, I've got my main pivot here. I can just rotate it right there. If I feel, that pivot point, it's not right where I want it. I need it maybe based back here at the heel of the palm. I can just take my offset, move that forward, take my anim locator, and just kind of realign them. Make sure I don't select the geometry there. Yep, like so. And then I can now reposition that. And now I can rotate it from this point. If I needed to add the fingers, I could do that. But essentially, there's my setup. I'm all good to go. And as I move my character, their hand stays in place. Done. Okay. Let's do the rivet constraint. Rivet constraint is pretty much exactly the same thing, except we're skipping one step. So instead of creating a locator and then placing it on the leg and constraining it with a point on poly, all I need to do is select the point on the leg, go to constrain, rivet, and it creates that whole process for me. There we go. So this pin output, this is essentially our hierarchy locator. I'll leave it as pin output for now. Then from there, I can create 2 more locators and do the same thing. So let's do this once more. We've got our anim locator and we've got our offset locator. So I'm going to put the hand into place. Let's take these and match their positions to the hand. You don't have to match the transformations. This is just something I like to do because I like to keep things organized and lined up. You don't have to if you don't want to. It's not the end of the world if they are slightly offset. And make sure that I actually snap there. Modify, match transformations. There we go. And sometimes there will be cases where I actually do want them to be offset and slightly adjusted. So it really just depends on what you need in the situation. Let's do this one here. Match that. There we go. And then I can just do the constraints. So IK wrist to the offset, constrain parent, and then I'm going to take the offset locator, parent that to the anim locator in this case to the pin output, which is the rivet constraint, like so. So you can see, same setup. And now, if I move that knee, that hand moves along, and we got that. Now she can kind of bounce up and down on her heels right there, lean forward a little bit, and her hands stay on her feet or on her legs perfectly. And then if you needed to switch to a different character, you would just do the same setup. Now she's going to take her hand, put it on someone else's shoulder. Again, rivet or point on poly, and then she'd take off her hand. You do another setup right there. Now you could technically animate the point on poly hierarchy locator to switch from her leg to someone else's shoulder. I would personally avoid that just because it can start getting really messy. So this is one of those moments where I would actually just have a duplicate hierarchy of locators just to make sure that things aren't interacting in weird ways. Especially when you're dealing with vertices, there's a lot of complication in there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It seems like it would be a very complex thing, but honestly, it's not that bad. And the best part about this type of constraint setup is that if I turn on, for example, the character's bend bows. So bend bows, for anyone who doesn't know, is controls that allow us to sculpt the limbs. It's still going to work with the bend bows. So now I can shape this leg here, get that nice and clean, and you can see that the hand follows along perfectly. And I don't have to worry about making any weird adjustments in there. So there we go. So this is, oh, and I'm arriving late, but I assume this also works with extra clothing. Yep. Anything where you have a vertice, it's going to follow. So if you've got like a puff of a skirt and you want them to like hold on to that, You can do that very easily, again, with a point on poly or a rivet constraint if you have Maya 2023.